party tonight! TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated here
To all Bevins shows.
Oh, my tickets!
Everybody loves Hippo Toes.
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, TV Party Tonight. Fuck, I did the wrong intro. Oops.
I mean, they are all streaming.
You know what's funny is I there's a part of me that's just like, I need to start over again, but we're live.
We're live.
I want to edit. So, hey, take two. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, triple feature. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight on the marquee, I can't believe I did that.
And you're wondering why I was giggling the entire time.
Wow. Anyway.
I watched all these movies on my TV.
Yeah, technically.
I did not.
Did you know that we actually used to do that? We were when we started like doing reviews of streaming movies. Like if it was on Netflix, it counted as a TV party. When we did Lords of Chaos on Hulu, like that's a TV party because it's on TV. And then I was like, no, movies are movies and TV is TV.
Yeah, you
understand. Anyway,
Can I take a second to really admire the fact that you're in a theater right now? I mean,
and for Mark, a TV party tonight.
Right? It took Mark this long, but after 10, 15 years of podcasting, he's able to rent out an entire theater to do a show.
Okay, first of all, it's like 16 years. Second of all, yeah, this is all mine.
I'm sorry I don't know the intimate history of Mark. Actually,
just check the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I'm making one tonight.
Blog Talk Radio created this ability to do podcasts, and this asshole found it, and it's been downhill ever since. The medium never quite recovered.
Anyway. Why do you think I quit?
Because I ran you off.
No.
Me and Mark Russell together.
More Mark Russell.
Fair enough.
I was just listening to Billionaire Island.
It was good. It was a fun show. You could tell like when I'm really excited about something because I don't shut the fuck up. I listened to myself on that, so I was like, my God, let Evan talk.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot to say.
Hey, I'm just glad to be here on the Metal Hammer of Doom.
Correct. All right. So
I got my rib. Oh,
all right. Tonight on the History of Boxing podcast, we will be talking about prisoners. I do so many of these. Prisoners of the Ghostland, starring Nicolas Cage, Shadow in the Cloud, starring Chloe Grace Moretz, and Out of Death, starring a very old Bruce Willis and Jamie King, who isn't as old. And why are we here, Evan?
Well, I guess it's my fault.
Yes, it is your fault. Tell us, Evan. Tell us why.
Well, okay. Several months ago, I decided to watch Army of the Dead on Netflix. And I saw that it was 2.5 hours. And I'm like, that's not happening tonight. But Hulu had a movie called Shadow in the Cloud that was 83 minutes. And ever since then, I've been trying to get other people to watch Shadow in the Cloud. And I said, hey, you guys ought to watch this movie. And then a couple months ago, I was in Walmart, and I saw that Nicolas Cage had a new movie I'd never heard of before, which is par for the course with Nicolas Cage these days. And the blurb on the cover, instead of being from a critic, was Nicolas Cage going, "This is the craziest movie I've ever been involved in." I said, that seems like a pretty high bar. So I sent it to the group chat. And at some point, I got a message back from you that said, okay, Prisoners of the Ghostland, Shadow in the Cloud, what can we do to make it a triple feature? And I said, well, Bruce Willis seems to take checks to make movies on the weekend where he plays a nearly retired or recently retired cop. I'm sure there's one of those streaming somewhere. And we got Out of Death.
Yeah.
Which I realized after watching it didn't really fit thematically, but
yes, it did. Yes,
I went by the synopsis and the fact that while I was pretty sure I knew who Jamie King was, there was like a 25% chance that I was mixed up and it was Jamie Presley from My Name is Earl.
I wish it would have been.
Not that I have anything against Jamie King, but I was just kind of hoping that when she witnessed the murder, she would go, "Oh, snap!"
So that's what brings us together in the Church of Movies today. Is Evan Bevins watches movies and decided, hey, I'd like to talk about one or two of these. And I said, actually, that's always how it goes. Somebody says to me, I'd like to talk about this. And I go, well, what about all the things? And they're like, why do I even talk to you?
I turned around and I looked. I said, hey, Mark, I really kind of want. First of all, I want to thank you all for being on the Screaming Boy podcast tonight.
Yeah.
And but I said I'd kind of like to get back into ease back into podcasting a little bit. He said, great. Here's 6 shows I want you on in January. And I went, 2 of these are triple features.
Here's your list.
Here's your list.
Welcome back, fuckface.
Yeah. That's what it felt like. And then he kicked me in the nuts.
Some language. All right.
You're talking like a World War II soldier.
Let's start with Prisoners of the Ghostland, which is a 2021 American horror western mashup, directed by Sion Sono from a script by Aaron Hendry and Reza Sikso Safai. It stars the aforementioned Nicolas Cage, Sophia Boutella, and Bill Moseley. And the plot revolves around a notorious criminal who is Nicolas Cage, who is sent to rescue the governor's adopted granddaughter, who has disappeared into the dark region called Ghostland. All right, so here's what happens in this movie. And I really do have to read the plot synopsis because I didn't understand a fucking thing that was going on in this movie. Good grief. Other than Nick Cage blew his balls off. That's about it.
Just one.
Just one. His ball. Singular. In a region in Japan, devastated and quarantined years ago in an accident in which highly volatile nuclear waste was spilled after a crash between the waste transport and a prison bus, a settlement called Samurai Town is ruled by an unscrupulous governor who has blended elements of Japanese society, both modern and pre-modern, and the old American West together at his whim, like you do, and is keeping a harem of adopted granddaughters, quote unquote, as his sex slaves. This is the kind of if they wrote a book with just that part of it, it's the kind of book my wife would read. She likes naughty books, Ronnie Adams.
That's not something I need to know about her.
Let's talk about my wife's nasty reading habits. By the way, real quick, so on the actual TV party tonight where we reviewed day 1, Evan, tell me if you've ever done this in your life. So my wife made a charcuterie board that we ate during the actual watching of day 1, right? And I'm on the podcast review with the Podsmen, Chris Bailey and Chris Sheehan. And I brought that up, and I was just like, my wife made a wonderful charcuterie board. If anyone would like to taste my wife's charcuterie, and of course everyone laughed because obviously I'm making an innuendo. And Chris Bailey burst out with, "I would love to taste your wife's charcuterie."
Oh my god!
And I'm cracking up laughing. Chris Sheehan slightly, anxious about the whole thing, and we all had a good laugh about it. And then we moved on. I'm driving home. My wife's in the passenger seat, and I'm listening back to the podcast, and she hears me do that. And my wife's not really a hitter, but she hears me do that joke, and she's like, "Oh!" And it's like she knows me. She knows my sense of humor. She's like, "Why would you say something like that? What's wrong with you?" And then she hears Chris Bailey go, "I would love to taste your wife's charcuterie," and starts beating me about the arm and shoulders.
Good for her.
Don't you? I mean, you see where I'm coming from though, Evan, right?
Well,
you really put Evan on the spot right there, didn't you?
Yeah, Evan's like, "No, asshole, no." not even close. Anyway, enough about my wife's charcuterie.
So then your wife made you wear a leather bomb-infused suit.
Right, and blew off one of my balls.
I do want to say that I'm glad I put parental advisory on my stream tonight.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mark. We met. The outside is a wasteland known as Ghostland, inhabited by half-crazed outcasts and victims of the irradiated environment. Just before the catastrophe, Hiro, a criminal, was imprisoned in the aftermath of a botched bank robbery, where his partner, Psycho, brutally murdered several innocent bystanders. It is later revealed that Psycho was in a prison transport, which collided with the waste truck and thus set off the disaster. One night, Bernice, one of the granddaughters, flees from governor's house with her friend Stella, only to get stranded in the Ghostland. The governor has Hero released to retrieve Bernice from the Ghostland and outfits him with a bodysuit, as Evan Bevins mentioned, which is set to detonate explosive charges in case he mistreats Bernice in any way. The suit itself is tampered with, or Bernice has not been rescued within 5 days. So we have a nice ticking clock here with this movie. When departing, Hero undertakes a parting gesture of defiance against the governor, which impresses Yasujiro, the governor's samurai bodyguard, whose sister is one of the governor's granddaughters. Upon entering the Ghostland, Hero is intercepted by a band of mutated men, suffers an accident, and is taken by the outcasts to their cult-like enclave and their leader, Enoch. He finds Bernice among them, but she is half catatonic from trauma. As he prepares to transport her back, Hero accidentally triggers one of its explosives, which destroys one of his testicles and renders him unconscious. Only unconscious, by the way. You blow off your balls, slight migraine, maybe.
You could tell Nicolas Cage had a ball with that scene.
Get out.
Little delay there. Anyway, in a nightmare flashback, Hero recognizes Bernice as a young girl whose mother was killed while he tried to escape the police after the bank robbery, and who was subsequently taken in by the governor. Attacked by the mutants from earlier, Hero is rendered unconscious when an explosive on his arm is set off just before the assailants vanish. However, the detonation shakes Bernice from her catatonia. Meanwhile, Stella
It's lovely in the summer.
Meanwhile, Stella returns from the Ghostland and is captured by the governor's men, who has Yasujiro execute her, which finally turns him against the governor, having had a revelation during his unconsciousness about his accidental role in the cataclysm. Hero stirs the Ghostlanders into a revolt against the governor. Aided by Psycho and the mutants, his fellow convicts from the fateful accident, Hero and Bernice return to Samurai Town, but when the governor refuses to unlock the suit and Hero pretends to take Bernice hostage, Bernice's friend Susie Q, traumatized from the governor's treatment of her, massacres several of his bodyguards with a minigun like you do. Hero, Bernice, Yasujiro overcome the remainder. Then Hero faces off against and kills Yasujiro while Bernice shoots the governor. With the oppressors dead, yay! And the outcasts liberated, yay! Hero, Bernice, and Susie watch as Samurai Town begins to stir with new, freer life. Evan Bevins, how wonderful is this movie?
Well,
It was to go to him first.
I'll tell you. I originally ordered this from the library, and it came faster than I expected, and I didn't have time to watch it. So then I considered renting it on Amazon Prime, which would have been like $7. And then I found out it was on Redbox. It's like $2. But then Redbox says, hey, do you want to buy this? And I'm like, it's a weird Nicolas Cage movie. I'm doing a podcast. No, I don't think I will. So, so I paid $1.85 for it. And that is the best decision I have made in the year 2022.
Oh, bless your heart.
I have never been happier to have only paid $2 to watch a movie. Yeah. I mean, Nicolas Cage was Nicolas Cajun. And I mean, he didn't phone this in. And yeah, I'm glad you came up with that summary, because it helped me understand a few things. I was operating under the assumption that this movie was set in post-apocalyptic San Francisco, which was the setting of Big Hero 6. I did have to check IMDb to make sure Jim Carrey wasn't playing the governor. I mean, they got Nick Cage. Who knows? There's a lot of stuff I didn't understand. I mean, there's things I wanted to like. I like the idea of a guy, who's basically been a selfish scumbag, coming to the realization that he's hurt people and is now in a position to help people. And
Yep,
yeah.
that's it.
Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast.
No longer.
You'll always be Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast.
That's true.
God forbid I have to do your eulogy. That's how I'm doing it.
Okay.
Here lies Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast. He was good to his mother.
Yeah. Well, what I think of it?
That would be nice.
It was a movie. No.
Shot on film.
It was shot on film. Definitely had Nicolas Cage in it. Okay, let me tell you this. I've seen some weird Nicolas Cage movies in the past. I've seen what was the Shadow of the Vampire? Is that what it's called? I forget.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, where he thinks he's a vampire. And I've seen the Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff.
Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland. Saw that. Willy's Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of stuff that is like, wow, that's really out there. This hands down beats every one of them in the what the crap am I watching factor. Because legitimately, and I'm not saying this to be funny at all, until you gave that synopsis, I had no clue what I watched. Because the story was everywhere. Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cajun. And I mean, like, it was, you know, little kids with masks on their back of their head.
Which there was no explanation for.
Right. Nothing.
They were just hot. I didn't even wonder about that. There were so many other things I didn't understand.
Okay, in the middle of a bank robbery where there's, you know, guns going off, people are screaming. This little kid turns around to a guy that's pointing a gun to him and says, "They're delicious. I'll give you one," and offers him a gumball. Never seen a kid react like that to a gun being pointed in his face.
Wait, how many kids have you seen guns pointed in their face?
You just mind your business, Evan. And
I've known at least one or two.
But it was just one of those things where, like, this was not even avant-garde. This was just weird. This was just the weirdest movie I've ever seen, according, you know, like in this genre. And man, it just kind of left me dull. I mean, like what? There was nothing really other than questions, and they weren't the good kind. They were just like, "What is this? What is happening? Why am I doing this? Why does Mark hate me?"
Why did he fight Yasujiro?
Right. I mean, okay. So the guy brings him a car. Was that Yasu? I mean, like, so
yeah, that was Yasujiro.
Yeah, brings him a car, is basically helping him through the whole thing, and then they just end up fighting each other in the end.
Was it honor?
And where did he get the gauntlet sword? I don't know where he got that. I mean, he just puts a motorcycle helmet on, starts doing moves that you know is not Nicolas Cage, with the sword and everything. And then, like, the people of the city attack him, and he starts mowing them down. And it feels like, were we in the Old West? Were we in feudal Japan? Were we in, you know, San Fran, Tokyo, or whatever it was called? I don't know. I don't want to know at this point because I want to forget this movie.
Let me tell you how, if Evan Bevins comes into my office, right? He comes into No Pants Productions, which is the name of my fictional movie studio. Okay.
Okay, it wasn't my first choice. I'm gonna just lay that out there now.
No, he's already been to Warner Brothers, he's been to Disney, he's been to Universal, and they all said no. So
they said, "There's this dude with no trousers on. Go check him out."
They're like, "There's this questionable movie studio in a really dark part of Los Angeles called No Pants," and Evan Bevin's like, "I have this idea of like a samurai western mashup." And it's the old trope of the criminal who has to fight for his freedom by going on a quest to bring back the princess, you know, back to the town governor. And I'm like, that's great. Here's $10. Go make that movie, right?
Oh, so it's like Shrek.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And it's like, as an elevator pitch, if Evan Bevins comes into No Pants Productions and is like, that's the movie I want to make. Yeah, I want to make that movie too. What's weird about the Prisoners of the Ghostland? What's weird about Prisoners of the Ghostland is how they took a rock solid, fun, crazy premise with tons of potential and did nothing with it.
Okay, you hit the nail on the head because it wasn't a big budget production whatsoever, and most of their budget probably went to Nicolas Cage, which went to his lawyers.
So I can't find the budget, but it made $63,000, which I make more than that in a year. Just saying.
Me too. See this schlub that works at an office? He made more money than what your
major motion picture.
I put in more money than a Nicolas Cage movie. Anyway, so what they did was, here's this rock solid elevator pitch. Here's 150 grand, an 8-ball of Coke. Go do your magic.
Is that on the writer? That had to be in catering. Was an 8-ball of Coke. Where's the Coke at? Between the bananas and the sushi.
That's what that's what it felt like. You know, just
8-ball of Coke.
How
is it going to help us make this movie? How is it not going to help you make this movie?
You can make movies without it? I don't know.
Yeah, look, this movie drags a lot. And Nicolas Cage, like if you saw him in Willy's Wonderland where he has no dialogue, he's playing a mute. He has to act a lot with his face. I mentioned this with Pig as well. Nicolas Cage can emote with his face like no other actor I've seen of late. He's really, really good. His eyes are very expressive, so you can get a lot out of Nick Cage just making funny faces.
Nick Cage is actually an excellent actor.
Oh, sure, no doubt. I think he gets pigeonholed into a lot of crap because
I think he just owes a lot of people a lot of money.
Well, that he does, but Whitney Seibel made sure to tell me that when I was like, "Does he owe people money?" Yes, you dick. Oh, that's how I feel bad. Yeah. Oops. It's like last night when Robert Cooper was like Kobe, and I'm like, "Oh, is he still playing for the Lakers?" I forgot he was fucking dead.
Oh my God, dude.
Oopsie.
Dude, now you know how it feels to watch this movie for the first time.
Bit of a leap. Look, the good, the bad, and the ugly on this. Nick Cage is doing his level best to be entertaining in it, but there's nothing to it. It drags in the middle. Sofia Boutella is utterly wasted. Like if you're lucky enough to have Sofia Boutella in your movie, don't make her catatonic. Or if you're going to make her catatonic, don't make her catatonic for most of the picture. For God's sake.
I mean, okay, she played Gazelle in Kingsman.
Mm-hmm.
And she did an excellent job in that, but you could tell it was like one of her first roles, I think. Yeah. But man, she has gone leaps and bounds from there.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended to what she played, but in Kingsman. But but she was absolutely terribly wasted through this whole movie.
And then this whole thing is like so remember that time that Evan Bevins and his friends made a movie and they just grabbed a camcorder and ran to the local park? That feels like how this movie was shot.
How did you know?
Yeah, because I know
we all did it. We all three did it.
I see you, Evan. I see you. So
we all three were those kids.
But like in all seriousness, like this movie felt like they just ran, and I can kind of respect this, but it doesn't make for a very dynamic, aesthetically pleasing picture when it just feels like they just all hopped out of their car, Marx Brothers style, and shot the first location they saw that there were no cops around.
I will say it kind of felt at times like somebody had some idea what they were doing, but they weren't communicating it to me. That somebody was like, okay, well, this is why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it made sense to them. Maybe the 8-ball was involved. I don't know. but I feel like somebody understood it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely like a vision and a perspective here, and like I love the idea of like let's do a samurai, Western mashup, but like if you're selling me on that point, like I want to do a half samurai, half Western, then it was like, well, we can't really dress this town up. We can't do anything with the setting. What if we have a bunch of geisha girls giggling for a good 30 minutes of this picture?
Like, what was that?
That is somebody with a weird impression of what. It's fine. That is somebody with a weird impression of what Japanese culture is. Like when I think of the Japanese, I think of sushi and giggling. The fuck? Like I
You
don't
think
get
of
it.
anime is what you're thinking. It's okay. Oh god.
Maybe the governor was really into anime and got a good deal on nuclear fallout affected property.
Maybe.
So there's a lot like Ambulance coming out later this year. It's actually a remake of a Dutch film. And there's been a couple
That's
of different
gonna go well.
It'll be fine. It'll be Michael Bay. Me and you were going to talk about it. That's another.
That one.
It looks good. I saw the trailer.
Yeah, that's another Ronnie and Mark joint. We're leaving Robert off of that one because we both decided that Robert and Michael Bay. We don't want to see Robert die early, so we're just going to leave him off of that show.
We don't want to see anybody die early. That's why we leave him off the show.
But yeah, this was made by like a XYZ, which I think is like a German production company.
That makes sense.
This was made by my count 9 production companies in the opening credits.
Yeah, really. I think this was.
If you have to have non-production companies, something has gone. It just says The Mob on it for some reason. That's the only way they could get
XYZ Films. Oh, sorry, it's an American film production company and sales company founded in 2008 by Aram Tertzakian, Nate Bulletin, and Nick Spicer, based in Los Angeles. It focuses on international genre films like The Raid, Redemption, The Raid 2, and On the Job. Some other movies of note from this past year. This might sound familiar to you. No Man of God, Paper Tigers, Stowaway, which we reviewed here. That was
Paper
me and
Tigers was good.
Stowaway was the Anna Kendrick science fiction movie where like, trapped on the space station. So a lot of this stuff like ends up on Netflix. In any case, where I was going with that was so this I want to see this movie like remade by like a good production company. Like I want someone like to buy the rights to it and just start again because it's such a fun idea. And I think somebody like, can you imagine like a Guillermo del Toro? You know, somebody who really has a good eye for like stagecraft and building really, really interesting and fun, exquisite sets. Mm-hmm. So imagine your samurai Western mashup town, but it's done by a guy who's an actual artist, as opposed to some guy who filmed this, you know, on like Sony's backlot.
And a writer that isn't doing this all the time. So what I'm telling, this,
you know, you say that, Ronnie, but this movie doesn't even have like it's writer? Not coherent. No. I'm where I'm agreeing with you is the movie's not coherent narratively.
It's not.
But how is it not coherent and boring all at the same time? There's like long stretch of this movie where nothing happens. The most exciting thing that happened in this movie until you got to the fight scene, the long drawn out, overwrought action scene at the end is Nick Cage blowing his nut off. And because even later on when he does it with his arm too, when he like, you know, snatches her and his arm blows up, and I was like, how is he not dead? Number one. Number two, like we've already seen his nut blow off. Like you shot Chekhov's gun. Roll credits. Literally.
And that doesn't seem like a very practical safety measure. I mean, I'm sitting there at the start of the movie going, so if he thinks he's going to hit the girl, you're going to blow up the arm that's near her face? That's how he escaped from the mob of creepy people, was his arm exploded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just not a very well thought out defense measure.
First of all, it blew up at the elbow.
Well, hang on. Your point is sound because let's because I'm dirty. I'll say it out loud. Let's say he's trying to like bang her, and then his nuts blow off. She's still in her genitals are still in like radius of the bomb site. You know,
there's no good answer to this,
right? Like the interesting idea of like, well, if he tries to assault this woman in any way, shape, or form, like it would have just made sense if they had said, like, we've put a bomb inside you. If you're not back in 5 days, it blows up. Then you have your ticking clock. But like this idea of like, well, you know, since we're setting this criminal with her, like, oh, if he does anything to her, we'll blow his dick off. If he touches her, he blow his arm off. It's like it's an interesting idea, but it's way impractical, as Evan pointed out.
Well, that way you can have the bomb go off and still have the movie keep going on.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
Also, he held his testy in his hand and talked to it.
Alas, poor Yurik. I knew it well.
That's all I could think of.
That's what he said to the football helmet. I know that sounds like a non sequitur, but that actually happened.
He wore a football helmet as he's going into battle.
Her name is Lola.
Got to protect the old melon.
She was a showgirl. Are we done with Prisoners of Ghostland?
I was done with it when I was watching it.
Evan,
I don't want to. I'm not going to crap all over.
Let's move on to a movie I'm still not done with.
All right. Well, before we do, you know what would have helped Prisoners of the Ghostland be a better written film?
Less drugs.
No, more drugs, but also Grammarly.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Grammarly.
For you listeners of Triple Feature, I swear at this time it's really Triple Feature, not TV Party. I'm gonna be like flaying myself later tonight. Stupid.
Please.
Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. I'm sure they're gonna be really happy to know that in the middle of my plug for their product, I was beating myself.
I know.
Beating myself.
As opposed to when you compared it to drugs.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's put a little Grammarly up your nose. It's fine. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. So download Grammarly today. Go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, it's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to download Grammarly for free. Shadow in the cloud. Shadow in the cloud.
We're going straight into Shadow in the Cloud. Okay.
Yeah, why?
No, I thought we'd. Never mind.
What did
Let's
you
keep going. I thought we were doing Bruce Willis's.
No, I'm saving that one for last.
Okay, good deal.
All right, so Shadow in the Cloud is a 2020 New Zealand American World War II action horror film. Speaking of mashups, directed by Roseanne Liang, who you might know from My Wedding and Other Secrets, because sure. From a screenplay by me.
She directed Your Wedding?
Yes, and Max Landis. Max Landis might have made my favorite YouTube video ever. Do you know what that is, Evan Bevins?
No.
It is.
Wrestling is wrestling.
Yeah, it's a great video.
Yeah, Max Landis hasn't done a whole lot of things I think are good or should be proud of, but Max Landis's wrestling video is fucking fantastic. It really is.
What about the book world?
Hang on. I've cursed a lot now, and now I feel bad because Evan still has to promote this later, and he has to now do the some language.
I'll just screw Ronnie's.
You haven't publicly shamed me about it though, Ronnie. Evan has.
No, I'm not publicly shaming you. I'm just warning people that expect a nice wholesome discussion.
And poor Evan Bevins' poor mother, I want to see what Evan is doing today. Oh, that sort of thing. Is that about right?
Yeah.
And yeah, the hell with you, Ronnie.
Okay, whatever. Hey.
Moving on. Shadow in the Cloud. I was telling Evan about Wrestling is Wrestling. He did a 20-minute video where he did he decided to explain what the attraction of professional wrestling is through the lens of Triple H's career, but all the wrestlers are played by hot girls. It's really good. It's worth looking up.
And there's a lot of people in it that you would never guess. I want to say stars, but
well, Joey Ryan is not a star. He's also
no. I'm talking about actors, like Chris Hardwick and a few other people that aren't like celebrity A-list or whatever, but they're there.
So this.
All right, shut up, Ronnie. Just tell me to shut up.
No, you're fine. Never, Ronnie, never. This stars Chloe Grace Moretz, Taylor John Smith, Nick Robinson, Beulah Cole, and Callan Mulvey. It follows a flight officer on a top secret mission during the Second World War II on a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress while encountering an evil gremlin on board. This premiered 2020 at the 2020 Toronto Film Festival, where it won the People's Choice Award for Midnight Madness. Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was released January 1st, 2021 by Vertical Entertainment and Redbox Entertainment, and has been like on Hulu forever now. All right, so here's what happens in this thing. In August of 1943, pilot officer Maud Garrett, a female flight officer, is assigned to travel with a top secret package from Auckland, New Zealand to Samoa. Samoans do the Humpty Hump. When she arrives at the airbase, she sees a ground crew ramp worker disappear just before suddenly finding herself standing right in front of her transport, a B-17 bomber named the Fool's Errand. Dun, dun, dun. The bomber's crew gives her a mostly derisive welcome. That's one way of describing it. And she, hey, you fucking whore. It's a little derisive.
I mean, like, you can say
accurate
derisive.
quote.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
No. Go ahead. You're good.
And she is quartered in the Sperry Ball turret for the takeoff. With no room left for her document valise, she reluctantly allows only crew member friendly to her Staff Sergeant Walter Quaid to store it. While stuck in the gun turret, like you do, Maud sees some sort of winged creature cling to the underside of the bomber's wing. She reports it, but most of the crew, except Private Beckel, who also sees it, dismisses her. When she is allowed to leave the turret, the hatch malfunctions, trapping her inside. When she reacts indignantly to the crew's comments about her situation, they abandon their attempt to open the stuck hatch, and the intercom suddenly goes dead. After seeing a Japanese aircraft appearing and disappearing in the clouds close to the bomber, she is abruptly attacked by the creature, a gremlin. Not that gremlin. She fights.
No, the one from the Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Correct. What am I doing? She fights it off, but ends up being injured. When the crew contacts her again to ask what happened, a radio message comes in telling them that Maud Garrett doesn't exist and is not registered for their flight. When they begin to take her out for questioning, Maud deliberately jams the turret guns and prepares to defend herself. Suddenly, the Japanese aircraft reappears and opens fire. Taking control of the gun turret, she shoots it down, winning the crew's grudging respect.
Very grudging.
Yeah. While continuing to talk with the crew, Maud admits she's actually married and boarded the bomber under her maiden name, but refuses to reveal her mission, citing its secrecy. She sees the gremlin again as it continues to sabotage the bomber. Eventually, Private Dorn sights it too, but others disregard him. Suspecting Maud's assignment is the cause of their misfortunes, Reeves gives the order to open the bag, which contains a baby. There's a baby on board.
Yeah.
Maud and Quaid's extramarital child, forced to confess. Confess, you whore. Maud explains that she was severely mistreated by her husband. She had an affair with Quaid and inadvertently got pregnant, like you do. Someone betrayed her to her husband, who came to the base looking for her. Deciding to tell Quaid, Maud faked her assignment to get away from her husband, who she says would have killed her in his rage. Just as Captain Reeves turns back to the airbase, three Mitsubishi A6M0 fighters attack, and the gremlin boards the bomber. Hello. Injures Quaid and kidnaps the baby. When the gremlin appears outside before her with...
Maybe the gremlin ate your baby.
Maud exits the turret and fires her handgun at it, driving it off. The bag is now hanging precariously from the engine nacelle. Risking a perilous climb under the wing, Maud is able to retrieve the child and reboard the bomber through the now shot-away ball turret opening. The gremlin attacks again, throwing Technical Sergeant Taggart, just yeeting him right out of the plane.
Just yeeting him right out.
Yeah. Out of the aircraft before Maud can evict it. When Reeves, Lieutenant Finch, and Dorn are killed by additional Japanese fighter gunfire, Maud takes command and brings the bomber roughly but safely down in a controlled crashing landing. The gremlin reappears and tries to snatch the baby once again, but Maud is finally able to kill the creature, ending the threat. She and the other survivors watch as the full
with extreme prejudice.
Yeah,
burns and explodes. All right, Evan, I know you said that you watched this one first. You've been wanting to talk about it all year. You did a blog post on it. It's your most favorite thing ever, even better than Spider-Man No Way Home. So tell us, why do you love Shadow in the Clouds?
It's a crazy movie.
Yeah.
It's like all I knew about it was that it was much shorter than Army of the Dead. And that it involved a female World War II pilot and an evil presence on a plane. That's all I knew. And then right from the start, they start playing the Stranger Things soundtrack. I mean, it's just I wasn't sure what kind of movie. Well, I actually, even before we get to Stranger Things, we have the cartoon that's reminiscent of that Bugs Bunny cartoon that's stuck in my head, where one of the few where Bugs is the guy getting messed with a gremlin in World War II. And so I'm like, huh, this is interesting. Okay, then we have Stranger Things music. Then we have, I was wondering, once they put her down in the turret where she stays for like a half hour of movie time, at least I'm like, so is this going to be like that Ryan Reynolds movie I never watched where he was buried alive for the whole movie? Is this what we're getting? Like,
no, I thought it was gonna be like The Guilty, where it's basically just Jake Gyllenhaal talking into a phone for 90 minutes.
And then like I a long time ago I developed the habit, like especially when my kids were really young and we had to be quiet, of like watching movies with closed captioning. I don't think I'd know who the male characters were without it, because I mean, thankfully some of them had really thick, exaggerated accents. But like, I mean, so you just
mean like Drunky McIrish?
I think he was Drunky McScotch.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Farm Boy. But so I'm watching that, and it's pretty tense, and Chloe Grace Moretz is carrying it, and just when you're like, okay, so this could be like some kind of World War II espionage type thing, there's a freaking gremlin,
right?
And then just when you're like, okay, so now we're in horror, it's like, no, there's Japanese planes, and then just when you're like, okay, so she's a spy, what's going on? Oh, there's a baby. Which, yes, is out of left field, but
there's a baby.
At that point, I don't know, somewhere, I think around the time she crawls out of the turret, which I fully admit makes no sense in terms of sound, physics, any sort of logic, but I didn't care. For at least the last 30 minutes of this movie, my jaw was dropped. Sometimes somebody actually thought this made sense. Somebody agreed to do this. Sometimes in, holy crap, what just happened?
Yeah.
Planes go fast. And she's just like,
they go fast.
Planes go really fast. And she's just like hanging on the plane like it's nothing.
Because she is a mother, Mark.
I understand.
She is a mother, and she is protecting her child. Now, you remember I said when I was talking about Prisoners of the Ghostland that Redbox really wanted me to buy a movie from them.
Just get it out of there.
They're like, hey, $2 off, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what they got. And I'm cycling through, and I'm like, 99 cents for Wonder Woman 84, maybe. But then you know what they had?
Still too expensive.
Shadow in the Cloud.
Oh yeah, $2.
Nice.
No, whatever logical and scientific flaws you guys can point out about this movie, and there are many, I was floored the whole time. Some of it was like, wow. Some of it was like, wait, really? What? It was whiplashing between genres so much that I didn't have time to decide whether I was going to suspend any disbelief.
Yeah.
I kept talking about it. I was telling people at work, I'm like, you got to check out this movie. It's like, I'm not going to tell you it's good. And I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just, it was an experience. And when I watched it again, even though I spent my $2 on it, I'm like, man, this could be one of those. Like, I remember as a kid, I watched the movie The Good Son, evil Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I mean, that was like one of the early R-rated movies I went to. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I told my friends about it. We rented it when it came out, and I watched it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like it only worked once. You watched it again, and I'm like, no. This movie, okay, I knew all the weird stuff that happened, and I still jumped a couple times.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one thing I want to say, first of all, I love this movie. I think it's great. This was one of the more fun movies I've seen, like not related to something big that we talked about on like Damn You Hollywood or whatever. I really had I was surprised how much I liked this movie and how good it actually is, despite it being silly at times. But I have to say something about Chloe Grace Moretz, who I like as an actress. I know Robert and Lexus hated her and just hated Tom and Jerry in general.
Shocker.
Shut up. I enjoy her. I actually think she's got a lot of charm and charisma, and she's a cutie patootie. But I have to tell you, so she starts off this movie doing like a British accent, and she actually has some authority with it. Like I could see, like, especially when she starts going over her resume and she's starting to like shame the other pilots or whatever. I'm buying into the character. I'm like, okay, she kind of has that Peggy Carter vibe to her.
Yeah.
And then she drops the accent, like Elizabeth Olsen. Speaking of Marvel characters, she like just forgets she's Sokovian, and she starts talking like herself, and I can't take her seriously anymore.
Oh.
Because Chloe Grace Moretz's natural voice is really high pitched and childlike sounding. And so suddenly she's like, I will let you know that I am an ace pilot, blah, blah, yakety spackety. And it's like, I agree with you, Chloe Grace Moretz. And then it's like, all right, really? I'm just this, that. And it's so, she sounds like such a little girl. I was just like, okay, no, now this just sounds like a child who stowed away. And while I still enjoyed the movie, it was very hard for me to take her seriously as a character after that. And then here's the thing about it. I liked it when it was just her and the turret gun. There are very few movies where the point of view is centered directly on a character who can't move, they can't go anywhere, and the whole thing has to be carried by the strength of the dialogue and the performance. And this movie does, I think, a really good job of that. When it turned into action schlock, I was with it. I was going with it. I mean, she looks like she's all of 5 feet tall, but I'm like, that's fine. Her versus a bat is fine with me. Like
a really big bat.
Yeah, if she wants to wrestle a giant bat on top of a plane, I'm good with this. It's whatever. I've seen dumber. But when she had to like talk with authority, but in her normal Tom and Jerry speaking voice, I'm like, look, kiddo, go back to speaking British because I can't take you seriously at all. You know what I mean, Ronnie?
I didn't know. Respectfully, I disagree with that.
Because like you can just say no. I was really just transitioning to you.
I know you were. I was trying to figure out what I was trying to say. I was like pleasantly surprised with this movie.
Yeah,
I had no clue what to expect. I didn't know what you all had got me into. But I know I didn't even look at the genres. I was like, okay, Chloe Grace Moretz, World War II, let's go. And then I even as I love history. I love World War II, and I forgot that there was female pilots back then, which was like very rare, because they didn't let the women do anything back then. But but it was really cool to dip into that part of history. And then all of a sudden the Gremlin came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, hey, look at that.
I can't remember what movie I said this about recently. It was something that I think Robert and I talked about, where it just feels like someone's doing. No, it was me and Sean. And it was Monday night where it was Titan, where we were like, this feels like a what do you call it? An improv exercise, where and then this happened. So someone's like, well, what if we have a stowaway, and then it turns out she had a baby out of wedlock, and then there's a gremlin. Like
there's a gremlin.
Pat Hot Takes Mullen weighing in with, I'm also not a fan of trying to justify affairs because man bad. Love, honor, and obey, peasant.
Well, and I mean, I'm not a fan necessarily of that either, but this is after the fact. I mean, I was more troubled with how her loser husband, who wasn't even I shouldn't say he was a loser because he's not in the military, but he doesn't sound like a very good guy. And then but he can come from wherever USA to New Zealand all of a sudden to check up on her. But I mean, I didn't even look at it because, I mean, Hollywood is like, okay, well, if your spouse, looks at you crooked or breaks wind, it's totally okay to cheat on them. I mean, that's the message in a lot of movies. But this was like, okay, she's got the baby, she's trying to figure out what to do next. So I don't know. So, I was more unsettled by the and maybe this is just my innocent naivete. I was more unsettled by the language, because, in all fairness, my primary examples of World War II era masculinity were my grandfather and Captain America. So I was under the impression that no one swore before the 60s.
No.
I know that's wrong, but I was like, come on, guys, there's more than just one word that starts with F.
Yes, it wasn't until Vietnam that soldiers were anything less than completely honorable and well behaved.
So as I said, this movie took me by surprise. I mean, like, I agree with you. At times I was like, man, the language is a little severe in it. I mean, like, but I expect that anymore with movies, period. But it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
No matter like, no matter how silly it got, and it got super silly when she was Spider-Man crawling on the bottom of that plane,
flying in the air
while the baby was hanging on.
That baby.
They don't make radio bag straps like they used to. I'll tell you.
Man, it was in that bag. I was like, oh, there's the bag with the baby in it.
That bag flew around every which way, looped around, got banged around, and all that protected that baby was a seatbelt. Sure.
Well, the thing about it was like, you're watching this bomber, this airplane, plane go fast, as Mark says. And then you look at the baby, the radio bag that the baby's in, and it's the gremlin has hung it off a piece of scrap that's hanging off the wing of the plane, and it's just gently blowing in the breeze when it should be doing this. It's just beating the baby to death. So it got silly, but you can't expect much for a movie about in the World War II terms, a dame fighting a gremlin. But
once again, as an elevator pitch, awesome.
I got a movie about this dame who fights a gremlin on a bomber plane. Here's 150 grand,
and she's got a baby.
And she's got a baby, and the father of the baby is on the plane too, and they're going to New Zealand. Here's an 8-ball of Coke and 150 grand. Have fun. But
I really, really want to start a studio with with Ronnie now, where like we're not going to give you your whole budget that you asked for, but here's an 8-ball of Coke.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing about it is like
8-ball of Coke Films and No Pants Productions presents.
Perfect. Hang on. I haven't used it in a while. It's not really appropriate here, but here it is.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Perfect.
Sorry, Ronnie, I keep interrupting you.
That's all right, but it's no, you're good, man. But this one was like, this was a good palate cleanser because I watched Prisoners of the Ghostland, then I watched Out of Death. Is that what it's called? Out to Death?
Out of
Death. Bored to Death.
Bruce Willis is bored to death. I'm a cop from Philadelphia. You ever see Die Hard? I'm one of them.
Come on. But so
yada yada yada.
But it was a good palate cleanser because I was like, this is fun.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't make sense. I mean, it made more sense than Prisoners of the Ghostland. But it was just like one of those movies. Like, I really enjoyed this movie,
Ronnie,
and I'll watch it again.
I've taken NyQuil and done a podcast and made more sense than Prisoners of the Ghostland.
I've had fever dreams that made more sense than Prisoners of the Ghostland. But I was really like, I think Chloe Grace Moretz or whatever, her Hit Girl. I think she can carry a movie just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with the whole, the accent, but she can pull off a pretty good British accent and have that demanding presence. But I thought she did great, man. I thought, she took a script that was probably like, really, you want me to do this? And made it her own. It was one of those things that was like, okay. It's like when I watched now probably people probably just yell and scream at me for comparing them. I'm not comparing the movies. I'm comparing the experiences. It's like when I watched Boondock Saints for the first time. I had no clue what to expect. I just saw the package. I was like, that looks like a cool movie. And I purchased it at Best Buy for the first time. And I went home and watched it. And I said, this was amazing. I love this movie. I had no clue what I was getting into. Saw her on the cover. I was like, oh, I didn't know she was in this. That was when I was first starting the movie. And I was like, this shouldn't be too bad. And I was like, man, this was actually really good. It was not a bad watch at all. I would recommend it to people who have some free time and a brain cell or two to kill.
So I was looking at some of the stuff she's done recently, besides what she did in 2021, which was Mother Android, which we're going to review towards the end of the month. Addams Family 2, which she did a voice role, and then Tom and Jerry, which we talked about. She in 2019 she was in something called Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarfs, which was an animated movie. I think the biggest thing she's been in outside of Tom and Jerry in recent years was Greta. Ronnie, did you see Greta?
I did not.
Okay, this was a psychological thriller. I actually vaguely remember the trailers for it. And she was in Suspiria, The Miseducation of Cameron Post.
Oh, that one I watched.
You know,
I'm kidding. I didn't watch that.
She's in the 2013 remake of Carrie, it looks like.
Yeah, that was actually not bad.
She was in Neighbors 2, Brain on Fire. So, I mean, I think something like Shadow in the Clouds, who's the one that was in Game of Thrones that it was also in Solo?
Her.
Yeah, Terminator Genesis.
And she's going to be in Secret Invasion.
Yeah, she gets a lot. She's getting a lot of action roles, and I think like Chloe Grace Moretz must look at like her and a handful of other tiny girls, and goes like, "Well, I can do
Amelia Clark."
Amelia Clark.
There you go.
I can do action roles too, like they do. Like, what do they got that I ain't got? And then like someone hands you the Shadow in the Cloud scripts, like here's your chance, hotshot.
And she pulled it off. And she did great.
I was I think when I originally watched this, as soon as the Gremlin cartoon started, I'm like, this is weird. I need to share it with somebody. So I started tweeting as I was watching it. And like at one point, I'm like, okay, well she's earned her spot in the next Expendables. And then I hear there's a rumor that they're going to do like the Expendables with Megan Fox or whatever.
I hope so that the neckbeards will rip their own throats out.
Okay, well, hold up.
Here comes the president of the She-Male Haters Club.
I am all about an Expendables. I'm all about that. Mm-hmm. But you better get me some action stars. That are of
who that isn't 60 years old.
Who isn't 60 years old in the Expendables?
Well, most of them are 70. So
I was gonna say, like, all right, so let's cast the Expendables, okay? Sigourney Weaver,
anybody but Megan Fox,
Linda Hamilton.
So there's 2.
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Are we? Well, are we going for like the ones of our generation, or are we going for newer gals?
You gotta throw a few in there. It's like you had Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, and then Jason Statham.
Okay, because Ronnie made a good point just now, because I forgot that like the Expendables were all old men.
Jason Statham is pushing 50 though.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jason Statham is 50,
but he's a young kid compared to the rest of that cast.
Well, again, I go back to though. Who do you? So okay, let's take a 20-year period from 1980 to 2000. Besides Linda Hamilton and Sigourney Weaver, we've already got them. Who else is there? Yeah. This is not an easy question to answer.
You give me
Nastasia Kinski,
Angelina Jolie.
Okay, that's 3 now.
Mila Jovovich.
Oh yeah,
okay,
yeah.
4. Good. We've got
Linda
4.
Hamilton. We've
already done that one.
Linda Hamilton, Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver would be more like
I'm counting.
Hold on. She'd give me more like a church role, like a Bruce Willis, Harrison Ford role. So you got Angelina Jolie, Mila Jovovich, Linda Hamilton, Charlize Theron.
Oh yeah.
You can't. Yep, that's a good one. Scarlett Johansson.
No, it's still a little too young.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Well, you definitely need some.
Grace
Jones.
Michelle Yeoh, or whatever her name is.
Michelle Yeoh.
Grace Jones. No,
why not?
Maybe I don't know.
She was in Conan.
She was.
If she's
she
still
wasn't
like
in much else.
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Carrie-Anne Moss. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, true. Yeah, Carrie-Anne Moss.
And believe it or not, Maggie Q.
Okay, Maggie but if Carrie-Anne Moss does it, she has to be playing Trinity.
Maggie Q's over 50.
Okay. How about Ming-Na Wen or somebody
else? Yeah.
Somebody else that's Asian.
Is she's in,
fucking Lucy Liu.
Yeah.
Okay, we got this.
Jessica Biel.
Okay, we figured it out. Oh, the model broad that was in Terminator 3.
Uma Thurman.
That's not Uma Thurman, but
it's not Uma Thurman. Kill Bill, come on.
Okay. All right.
So suck
All right,
it. We did it without her.
So 8 Ball of Coke Films and No Pants Productions has got the Expendables. Got it.
Yeah.
And
Megan Fox
and Chloe Grace Moretz can be the new kid. I'm telling you, she earned it.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Her and Ronda Rousey, yes.
Megan Fox can take her toe thumbs and get out of here.
Leave Megan Fox alone.
I'm sorry, I'm not a fan.
All right, are we done? Yes.
Renee Russo.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Oh, if you got to have her in it, then we got to also have Kate Blanchett.
Yeah, I will
Like
give you that.
Kate Blanchett and like the first of all, Kate Blanchett rules.
Yeah.
Second of all, like she's got to be like in like the Bruce Willis role, like or like a.
No, that's more of Sigourney Weaver's role.
Sigourney Weaver.
Well, there were
has to be,
two
like,
of
the
them
main
though.
Cast. Sigourney Weaver is like the Sylvester Stallone of this thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All right. We've now casted an entirely other movie. I think we're done with Shadow in the Clouds. But I'll
Yeah.
ask you, Evan. You have any
Wait.
last
There
words
needs
about
to
it?
be one left field edition. Leslie Jones. Okay, moving on.
Damn it. I was like,
Get out!
Who can we
Get
say
out!
to piss people off? And Evan beat me to it.
Get out.
Okay, so Shadow in the Cloud. I gotta say, like I said, I knew nothing going into this.
Yeah.
I went back and watched the trailer, and this is what ticked me off. You know what scene is in the trailer? The one where she falls out of the plane and gets thrown back in by the exploding plane below her, which is absurd. But even so, I'm like, why would you put that in the trailer? That's like, that's like the what the crap moment of the movie.
Being sexually like assaulted verbally by an entire crew of pilots.
That was.
What are you gonna put in the trailer?
Well, okay, maybe,
You know-
but I don't know. You got to do something else.
You can't. Okay, you can't put anything with the gremlin in there because that gives away the surprise. The
Yeah.
rest of the movie is her just talking. What else are you gonna put in the trailer?
Her shooting
Oh,
from the
by way,
turret.
It's fine. It's not her fault, but I couldn't help but laugh when she was just like firing the turret gun, going ah.
That's not. I thought that was okay, and I try not. I try the hardest not to curse, but that was a badass moment, man, where she grabs him and like loads him and just starts going off. Come on, that was cool.
And then, by the end of the movie, when she's just ripping the gremlin apart, and then she sits down to breastfeed the baby. I'm like, Captain Marvel's like, I am a female empowerment film, and Maud Garrett says, "Hold my breast milk."
Oh, by the way, how do we cast an entire Expendables and not put Brie Larson in there?
Because she's the
wrong era.
So is Chloe Grace Moretz.
She is a piece of wood that
Chloe Grace
put
Moretz started the whole conversation.
Okay.
She's a piece of wood that somebody put a Captain Marvel suit on and said, "Hey, look, I can act." She's
Ronnie,
terrible.
you're putting
That's
yourself
why we
in
don't-
very poor company because I
Have you-
know somebody who's described Brie Larson as built like the number one.
Have you seen?
Don't
have you
be
seen
that
Room?
guy, Ronnie.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying she's a very wooden actor.
Oh, okay.
She has no emotion.
Okay, I thought you were talking about her figure, and I'm like, be nice.
No.
But have
Go
you
ahead.
seen Room?
Room?
No.
Like the
Okay.
room?
No, the movie
The
Room. The one that she won an Oscar for.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
That the kid playing her son should have also won an Oscar for. But
no,
not.
no.
that's
I
the one that put her on the map. It's I mean, it's not fun, but it's excellent.
It's every squirrel finds a nut. I mean, I think she dialed it in, and I think she didn't have any fun playing this role. I think she wanted out of it, and then everybody's like, "Oh, it's a woman empowerment movie and stuff like that." She's like, "Yes, it is," and I think that all that went to her head. And
I said this to Sean. If we're talking about like why does everyone hate Brie Larson, because Brie Larson in the marketing for the Avengers and Captain Marvel was a twat, and had she not acted like a twat at the time, I don't think she would have engendered as much hate.
I think I would have given her another chance at a second movie,
Mhm.
but I mixed with her attitude
Mhm.
and the performance she gave in the first movie, I don't want her in the Marvel universe anymore.
Okay, well, neither does Don Cheadle, but that's besides the point.
Really?
Have you not seen the video of her doing marketing with Don Cheadle and I think it was Mark Ruffalo or somebody? And Don Cheadle looks like he's about ready to punch her right in the vagina.
Yes.
Evan Bevins is looking at me like, why does he say these things? Go watch the video. He definitely has punched you in the vagina eyes in that shot. Ronnie, back me up, Ronnie.
All I'm saying is that
I was yawning. Sorry.
Captain Marvel wishes it was as feminist as Shadow in the Cloud.
I'm telling you, man.
I agree with you.
She okay. At first, it's the most okay. Spider-Man crawl, explosion, push her back up in the other, blah blah blah. All that's unbelievable, but that's all movie magic, right? The most unbelievable thing is all the things that those guys said to her. Nobody said, "Yo, bro, whoa, too far."
I would like to shove an entire cactus in your pussy. Wait,
right.
what?
Yeah, it almost went that far. You can handle my gun, baby.
Evan is right now questioning all of his life choices.
Well, but I mean, yeah. Well, unfortunately, the only decent guy on there was the one who'd actually, messed around with her. So,
right.
Yeah. You would have thought at least somebody would have had a. I mean, it did go a little far, which reminded me of my other point, Mark. If you were to say to Maude Garrett that you didn't find her regular voice believable, you would have been shot by Japanese gunfire or stabbed by a gremlin.
He got a point.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
At what point? Okay, they're like, "Oh, I got a gun you can handle, baby. Won't you fly my plane? Hey, look, here's my penis." It's just like it went that far.
I'm gonna put this in there.
Yeah, it's just like, whoa, brother, settle down. And even the captain of the plane, we should have gone like, "Hey, dude, chill out for a second. Come on.
Maybe don't be so rapey."
Right?
That's what happens when women come into male spaces. Sarcasm.
You're not kidding when they come in the male spaces. You'll walk right into that one, Evan. Here's what I'll tell you. I had less of an issue with the cat calling than I did with paranoid McScotsy, who's like, whatever she has in the bag, it must be cursed, and then she's messed up the whole thing. Like, I haven't seen a character this oblivious and obtuse since Independence Day, where it's like everything they've tried. It's like, well, we're gonna fly the alien ship and dock with the mothership and upload this virus because we've tried everything else. And he's like, well, nukes are still an option, even though it failed the first time. Like, that level of obtuseness, he's even worse.
I think somebody was like,
it was like she shot the Japanese pilot out of the sky, and his reaction was, I bet he would have been on our side if she'd left him alone.
I kept thinking that somebody was like, hey, remember the Scottish guy in Wonder Woman? Well, what if he was really unlikable?
There's a dark wind blowing. There's a woman on our
woman
on our plane.
I scheduled this out for 20 minutes ish per film. We're like into 30 to 40 now with
that's all
Shadow
right.
in the Cloud.
Okay, just take it from Out of Death. We can do this in 10 minutes.
We can do this in 5
I
minutes.
got that in 30 seconds.
We can do this in less time than it took Bruce Willis to film his scenes.
Okay. Well, before we do, you know what Shadow in the Cloud was missing, Evan Bevins?
It sure wasn't 90s synth music or 80s synth music.
A good soundtrack. And you know where you can find a good soundtrack? Ronnie Adams of the Streaming Boy podcast.
It's Amazon Music.
Alexa,
Ronnie.
play music from Shadow in the Cloud.
Ronnie, breathe.
Shadow in the Cloud, original motion picture soundtrack by Maria Bridgman Cooper on Amazon Music.
Terrific. All right. So, yes, we are, in fact, giving away a free 30-day. Turn it off, Evan.
Okay, Alexa, stop.
Evan, you're my favorite person ever. I have to listen to this now.
We are giving away a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service, as you just heard demonstrated by Evan Bevins of the Screaming Boy podcast. And the link is getamazonmusic.com. Well, if you're not going to do it, Evan is. I'm assigning.
I was going to say the name's available.
You can't have my show. That's my show.
It's my show now.
It was established before it was syndicated on your network.
Don't you understand?
You can't have it. And
You're the captain. Who do you think you are, Brie Larson?
Yeah,
no, he shows emotion.
Oh, I was gonna say no. I'm kind of a twat. Anyway. For a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service, If you'd like to hear music from Captain Marvel, like, like I'm Just a Girl, the most on the nose fucking use of music I've ever heard. Hey, who wants to arm wrestle for the Tesseract? Get AmazonMusic.com/W2M Network. Again, it's get AmazonMusic.com/W2M Network. All right. We are almost out of time, and this movie is called Out of Death.
Which I think is a play on the phrase "out of breath."
And that wraps it up, kids. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-bum.
This movie
Bruce Willis plays a recently retired cop.
This is so funny. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for this. It has no budget listed or earnings. Like, I don't know where this was ever shown.
Hulu.
Out of Death is a 2021 American crime thriller film directed by Mike Burns.
Incidentally, Mike Burns is the most commonly diagnosed injury of people who engage me in rap battles.
Nice. Wait, hang on.
That's fair.
All right. So Mike Burns is an American video director, producer, and entrepreneur currently residing in LA, California. He is a member of the EDM production duo Interstate. His work on the 2004 release Creamfields.
That actually explains a lot.
I don't know what Creamfields is, but I'm pretty sure Rob Black put it out once upon a time.
Oh, no. No, sir. We are not doing that tonight.
His 2004 release Creamfields by Paul Oakenfold earned him a Grammy nomination. Oh, well, good for him. So he's a music video, and he got to direct a feature. Good for you, sir.
And he also composed the music, or co-wrote it.
All right. So retired cop Jack Harris has to protect his niece, an innocent woman, from corrupt cops after the woman took a video of one of the police killing a drug dealer. It stars Jamie King, Bruce Willis. The rest of these people don't have hyperlinks. Kelly Grayson and Mike Burns. Filming occurred between November of 2020, but complications with COVID-19 safety protocols created difficulties in getting the cast and crew to clear to shoot and delayed production for several days.
Why am I laughing at this?
Maybe that's why they were on opposite sides of a door in the climactic scene of the movie.
Oh my God, this is the best. I didn't even realize this until just now. As a result, the entire film was shot in 9 days, and all of Willis's scenes were shot in only one. Yes,
I was right.
That's fucking fantastic.
Wait, read that one more time.
As a result, the entire film was shot in 9 days, and
they shot an entire movie
in 9 days.
In 9 days.
Yeah, this is like The Asylum kind of a movie.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So a couple of notes about this movie before we start talking about it. So Willis's scenes were shot in only one day. The film received a limited theatrical run and was released on demand July 16th of 2021. Out of Death currently holds a 0% rating. A 0% on Rotten Tomatoes from 10 critics.
I think calling shown in your backyard on a sheet a limited run is a little bit.
Yeah, so I made the joke before about like how Prisoners of the Ghostland feels like a bunch of kids just like ran to the park and shot a movie with a camcorder. This one was filmed in someone's backyard during a wedding.
It's true.
They're like someone got bored during the wedding, started to wander around.
Hey, this makes a pretty good backdrop for a movie.
Like, you know what? What if we shot a movie about corrupt drug dealers, cop drug dealers in the woods? Then there's your movie. All right. So basically, Jamie King sees a corrupt cop kill a drug dealer, and she runs around the woods away from said cops. The cop is joined by another male cop, and they start chasing her around the woods. Eventually, Jamie King runs into Bruce Willis, who's like vacationing in his cabin up there. I guess he lost his wife recently, and so he's taking some time.
He went in the woods to live deliberately.
He really did. And so he helps her keep away from these cops. The sheriff in town is corrupt as well, and he's helping with things, and it all ends with Jamie King and Bruce Willis killing both cops, and then eventually the sheriff. That's the movie.
I have one correction to make.
Okay.
Bruce Willis didn't kill anybody.
Okay.
Jamie King was the most dangerous person in those woods.
Yep, that's true.
That's not entirely untrue.
There's a really great scene at the end of the movie where Bruce Willis has his gun on the cop, and the cop and this is the smartest person ever in the history of film. It's like he's not really. He's like, I'm going to turn around and look straight at him, and if he shoots me, he's a cop. If he's not, he's full of shit. At which point, get my gun and shoot him. And I was like, huh. Wow. Yeah. Who knew? All right. I've let Evan start off with these first two. I'm going to give Evan a break here and let you talk about Out of Death, Ronnie.
Well, Out of Death, bored to death. Okay, I've never really seen a movie where Bruce Willis delivers his lines like this. So yeah, if you
like me giving a plug,
if you just go back to the cabin, I'll get my gun. And yeah, you get your camera and we'll wrap this up and before lunch.
Does it not feel like the director was either like afraid to direct Bruce Willis or his actual direction was, how you're like old and tired, Bruce? Yeah, that's what I want from you.
That's exactly what it was. And like, Bruce Willis tried to crack a smile, and it was one of the most god awful things I've ever seen in my life, because it was just like, why are you trying? What are you doing? Stop. It was like it looks like you're trying to act and you can't.
His performance comes across like the director is actually a 12-year-old child whose dad got Bruce Willis to show up at his birthday.
Yeah.
And his birthday was filming a movie.
Who did you
during someone's wedding?
Are you are you related to somebody in this movie? Is that why you're doing it? I mean, that's all I need to know. Because you act like you are the most miserable person on the planet while doing this, but they're giving you a paycheck for it.
His performance comes across like Elmer Fudd getting the letter from Uncle Louie that he gets $1 million if he doesn't mistreat Bugs Bunny. That's
right. Wow, where did you get that?
Elmer in my mind, Bruce Willis is Elmer Fudd.
Well, yeah.
What links these three movies together? Bugs Bunny references.
That's going in the description of the podcast tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like I've never, I know he needs some money, apparently, because he's done 10 movies in the past year, and they've all been this.
Again, I don't think he does. I think I was talking to Evan before you came on tonight. I don't think Bruce Willis is doing these because he needs. That's Nicolas Cage. I've been told.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think Bruce Willis is just like, what is life without meaning and something to do? And what I do is act. And so I'll just take any stupid picture that comes along because I don't care if it makes money and it gives me something to do.
He thinks too highly of himself to do that. But he thinks far too highly of himself to just
do
anything.
But come on, Ronnie, if someone was like, hey, we will cut you a 6-figure check to come in for, I was saying a couple days, but as Mark just found out through the magic of the internet, literally one day of work to play some version of yourself, would you turn him down?
This is a man that was kicked out of the Expendables because he wanted $3 million, like they offered him $3 million to do 2 days of work, and he wanted $4 million. And they were like, kick rocks barefoot, Bruce.
Okay, but
we'll get
that's
else.
The Expendables, a movie that's probably going to make money. This is Out of Death, a movie that's given away in like a McDonald's Happy Meal.
That was a good one. That was a really good one.
This is the second movie like this that I've seen Bruce Willis in. Again,
look at IMDb. You can find 1 million of them.
I know, but I mean, this was eerily. Because I was looking for a movie on Hulu, and I found this movie called Trauma Center. And it's like, okay, a young woman is trapped in a hospital with 2 killers after the only piece of evidence that can link them to a murder, the bullet lodged in her leg. And I'm like, okay, that's as an elevator pitch goes. I mean, that would get you $150K and an 8-ball of Coke from No Pants Productions, right?
No,
I love that we're running with this. So
that's about $75K right there.
So 2021. I'm gonna read you his filmography just from 2021.
I was getting ready to do that.
Okay, so Cosmic Sin, right? Which is him and Frank Grillo, the other like straight to video fucking extraordinaire. Out of Death, which we're talking about now. Midnight in the Switchgrass.
Yeah, that doesn't sound promising.
Survive the Game. Apex. Deadlock. And Fortress.
Hair of the Dog.
Not on his Wikipedia that I can see.
I'm looking at
Hey,
IMDb.
I'd just like to point out on IMDb that Fortress 2 is in post-production and Fortress 3 is in pre-production.
So there's a column here with the with these movies on his Wikipedia page that says whether or not they're direct to video.
Oh wow.
Since 2014, he's been in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 direct-to-video movies.
This dude does direct-to-video movies. Like, my dad used to go in and sell a car on the weekends right when he retired.
But, like, your whole... and this is why I'm mad at you now, Ronnie, because you're like Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is too good for this. Bruce Willis thinks too highly of himself. Bruce Willis clearly doesn't give a fuck, or he wouldn't be doing any of those movies.
Okay, so I don't understand it, though. He does think too highly of himself.
What is so hard to understand about this?
You look at how he treats others. I mean, look at Kevin Smith's story when he was directing Cop Out.
Oh my God! Here we go again with poor Kevin Smith.
I will punch you in the jejunum.
Who ruined He-Man and made Pat Mullen sad.
I don't give a crap about Pat Mullen right now. Pat, I love you, but He-Man wasn't that bad.
I liked He-Man.
Oh God, no, not again.
Anyway,
you knew what you were doing.
I mean, like, and I enjoy this. I mean, it was sad to hear that Bruce Willis is that much of a dick, but like, yeah, he is. He treats people poorly. There's reports of it all over, the internet of how much of a jerk he is on set. And then,
hang on, I'll do. Ronnie's face just made this sound.
we're not only streaming, but we're doing. Yeah, this is voice too.
Yeah,
so,
I could actually see your eyes cross when I said that. It was great.
Anyway,
why don't I resist video for so long?
I don't know. But anyway, it just blows my mind that he's doing this schlock for. Why though? Does he owe Demise some money? I mean, like, what's going on with Like, he's a decent actor. He doesn't have to do this unless he just wants the money. I have to build a summer home. Let's do Out of Breath or whatever it is.
Out of Death. See, here, I will say this.
That's probably what he says. I'm completely aware of what it's called. He's not, I'm sure.
Okay, but I will say, yeah, I was disappointed with this, but there were little hints where there could have been potential. Well, I mean, just the I picked it out of the ones you sent me, Mark. I just looked at the synopsis real quick, and I'm like, okay, woman going to scatter her father's ashes, witnesses a murder. Okay, maybe you could do something with that. I was really hoping that the climax of the movie would be someone shooting at her and her father's urn deflecting the bullet, but that was not to be. But like the scene that I liked, the scene the aspect that impressed me was like, okay, you've got the deputy that kills the drug dealer, she was probably really popular in high school and then never left the small town or whatever. And, and then she gets stabbed by Jamie King, who's the most dangerous person in this movie by far. And she's like in danger of dying. And Tommy, the Roscoe P. Coltrane analog here is like, oh man, she's got a kid. And, I'm like, oh yeah. So, she has this kid she cares about. And, so what goes into her head as she's doing all this stuff? And I'm like, that could have been interesting, but that didn't happen.
Well, okay. First of all, I got pissed when I saw Jamie King was in this.
Who the fuck is Jamie King?
Yeah, exactly.
She was in Bulletproof Monk and Sin City and other movies.
Right, she's been in a lot of things.
Right, I don't like.
Oh my gosh, she's coming out with a movie called How to Cook Your Daughter.
I don't like her as an actor.
I'm not available for that podcast.
Okay,
Apparently, I'm not available for this one. I was,
hang on. So the two most recent things she's been in of note were the two Escape Plan movies.
Is that with Sylvester Stallone?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't like her. The last thing I actually kind of enjoyed her in was Sin City. And then she didn't have much of a speaking role in that. I don't think she's a very talented person as far as acting goes, whatever. That's just me. I have this weird thing about her. I just don't like her. There was nothing redeeming about this movie. There was nothing redeeming. I watched Prisoners of the Ghostland. Then I watched this one, and I said, Mark, I'm going to kill you.
You volunteered for this.
When did I? No.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
I do, Jason.
Okay. Hey. But I was just like, this is terrible. And then I watched the other, I watched Chloe, and she did great. And I was like, okay, that's better. I mean, redeeming. I don't have to fly to Florida now. But like this, there was nothing redeeming about this movie. This was just something that Bruce yawned through. Like, legitimately, I'm so surprised I didn't see him yawn physically in this movie multiple times, because I did. And then, it was predictable. It was terrible. It wasn't even that good of an action movie to me. And it was just one of those things where I was like, gosh, why was this made? Why? I told you I was channeling, my inner hatred for this. And it's just like, this gives movies a bad name. All movies ever made. If you wanted to hate anything, hate this. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible waste of time. And
right.
Bruce Willis should be ashamed of himself.
Oh, stop.
I could have used Nicolas Cage as the sheriff in this.
Yeah.
That would have made it better.
Because like the dude playing the sheriff, I mean, I needed somebody like chewing scenery all over the place. Not just not like this, near comatose country. I think I'm cool.
Yeah, it was. Just,
we needed somebody to go overboard with that.
That's the most negative I've been about a movie in a long, long time, other than the Fantastic Four remake.
Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe it's just piling on, but did you notice how terrible everybody was at hiding in this movie?
Yes!
It's like, okay, let's hide the body. Okay, we're going to put it under the truck. We're going to park it right off the road. And then I'm going to put a campaign sign right next to it, just in case somebody is not looking directly at the truck.
Well, okay, Jamie King comes hiking around the corner, and she sees she hears them talking loudly in the truck about drugs. And then so she pulls out a camera and sneaks around the trail, full body out, no matter, just like, and she puts this gigantic Hubble telescope of a camera up to her face and starts to clack, 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 and recording.
Which was not audible on the video she apparently took at the same time.
Right. And then she's like, and then they're like, it's almost like the guards in Skyrim. Oh, what was that? They have an arrow in their head and they're like, oh, it must be the wind. And they turn around and like, but they didn't see this woman standing in the road taking video of them, and then all of a sudden, then they do see her after she shoots the guy in the head, because I don't, maybe she made an audible gasp and then materialized onto became onto the back from the astral plane or wherever she was, and it was just like at that point I was like, yeah, I'm done. It was just so bad, so bad.
I do think the movie should have been called, as Tommy and Billy were arguing about who would shoot her, I think it should have been called No You Kill Her. I think that would have been a better title than Out of Death.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Yeah, this was not great. I do love a good 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, though.
Man.
I think one of the on trials I made Sean do was Ballistic X versus Severn, because I wanted to know what was the lowest rated movie, like what had the most reviews and still a 0, and that was it. I was like, we have to talk about this movie. And Out of Death only has 10, as near as from what the Wikipedia tells me. So it doesn't quite qualify for what I was looking for, but it's still bad. It's not like there are certain movies I'll leap to the defense of and say like, well, this saves it. Like again, this is like, here's the thing. I don't want to call it student film bad because like they're at least trying.
How dare you insult the students like that?
Well, that's the thing. Like, this doesn't feel as competent as a student film. No. This is more like one of those ash can deals. Like somebody actually we got a comment. We got a comment on something besides a Japanese girl band. We got a comment on I really should call this
baby metal.
I really should call this the passive aggressive network.
It's true. It's very true.
All my snarky insider comments. Anyway, we got a comment on the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City review that we did, and somebody made a point of saying, here's the one critical element of your review that you guys are missing. This was an ash can movie. This was made so that the studio could retain the rights to Welcome to to Resident Evil. That's why it's so bad. That's why it was rushed. That's why it's bad. They did the best they could with it, but it was just meant to keep the franchise.
It was rough. It was so rough.
Out of Death feels like a movie that feels like an ash can movie. Like they just made it to retain the rights to whatever this IP was, except that it's not based on anything.
What IP? This was the most generic story ever.
Maybe they had a movie a month deal with Bruce Willis.
He certainly made it.
It's like that old CD club that you used to join.
Columbia House.
Yeah, Columbia House. It's Willis House. You get 10 Willis movies for a penny.
Like, yeah, he's on like retainer for this like one studio where it's just like he has to make 10 movies a month in order to honor his contract.
I'm really exposing
that
myself
he signed
to
while he was on an 8-ball of coke. Go ahead.
150K. I'm really y'all were talking about how you used to make movies as kids. So we did that a lot. And my friends made a movie and legitimately called West Virginia Greg, where my friend Greg dressed up like Indiana Jones, used I'm pretty sure it was either a regular or a jump rope for a whip. And it was terrible. It was so good. It was so bad. It was good. It was one of those things where like my friend Jared used a high pitched voice to be the bad guy. He's like, oh, like warbly voice. And it was that. Shut up. I would choose that 1,000 times to show in a theater before this.
Okay,
I'm serious.
I don't know how many more ways we can say the movie is bad. Let's close up.
I liked it better than Trauma Center.
I've not seen Trauma Center.
Yeah, what is
don't
that?
Just don't.
Okay.
I believe you.
And Mark, I don't get to do this often. I don't do this often, so don't cut me off.
Okay, an hour and a half ago, you were complaining that I gave you too many assignments, and now you're like, I don't get on here enough. I'm Jason Teasley.
I don't. I will slap the dog snot out of you. I said I don't complain that much on here.
I'm just happy to be here.
You a favor. Thank you, Evan. I try to do you a favor, Radulich, and this is how you treat me.
Yeah. Listen, at least I didn't offer your charcuterie up to random strangers on the internet like I did.
You had
life.
before.
Yes, for those of you interested in Ronnie charcuterie,
listen to any random source material in the past.
If you would like to swallow Ronnie charcuterie whole, please send all mail to sgarmer@gmail.com. Have I done it? Have I hit the bingo? Have I made all the jokes that we make in the chat?
It's a bingo.
Well, and you, Smiley, I'm trying to get you on more comic strips, man.
For me?
No. Are you Smiley? No. I'm talking to Mr. Evan Bevins over there.
Smiley.
He was like, I'm trying to get on more podcasts. I'm like, I keep offering you gigs.
No, I said I'm happy to be here. I wasn't complaining.
Okay.
No, we got a what? I Kill Giants.
Yep, we got I Kill Giants coming up. 2 guns.
Schoolgirl volumes 1 to Infinity.
That's
nobody.
You and Jesse.
Okay.
What do you call it? Logan's Run, which Logan's Run had to be the funniest negotiation for a podcast because poor Evan doesn't want to put anybody out, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, Evan. Just tell me when you're available. He's like, well, when my kids go to bed, but I don't want to keep you guys waiting. I'm like, all right, Evan, shut up already. We'll do it at 10 o'clock. It's fine.
Hey, Ronnie, you don't have any copies of Logan's Run drawn by George Perez, do you?
No.
What a weird ask. All right. That is.
What if that's as a matter of fact, and just pulled it out like right here?
Well, folks, that is this edition of Progressive Conservatism. We thank you. We thank you for being here, enjoying these films with us. I have a wonderful time. You guys were great. We have to do this. We have to just the three of us hang out again and talk shitty movies.
Absolutely.
Whatever Evan's pulling out of the red box these days, that's what we'll do.
Hey, when Shadow in the Cloud 2 comes out.
I got one right here. It's called Snake Hole. It's got Bruce Willis.
What was the Christmas one you pitched that I shot down because we'd already done those movies?
It was the I think it was the Mel Gibson triple feature.
No. It was Iron Man 3 because that takes place at Christmas time.
Iron Man 3,
Batman 2.
Oh, Batman Returns, and then probably Fat Man. But we did a triple feature with Fat Man.
I was gonna say I feel like there was another superhero movie that took place at
Batman
Christmas
was such
time.
a good movie.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I just immediately shot it down because I'm a jerk. And I was
no,
like,
it's okay. Hey, man, we did Fat Man. I got to watch In Bruges again.
Yep.
I got to not love the ref as much as everybody else, even though I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's start with you, Evan. Go ahead and do your plugs.
Asterisk51.blogspot.com. You can hear me or read me ramble more about movies like this and important comic book milestones like the time Black Widow found an Infinity Stone in a toilet, or the time Spider-Man taught the Beyonder how to use the bath. Write a lot about toilets.
How about the time that Howard the Duck had an Infinity Gauntlet with 2 dancing stones?
Oh, the Abundant Glove. Yes. Yeah, put that one on the schedule.
Okay.
2027 or something.
That's a comic book. Talk to Jesse.
Oh, man.
Up 2030.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right. Yes. The Abundant Glove is wonderful. You can also check out a couple issues of a webcomic I wrote, a support group. It's about a support group for people with lame superpowers. In case your origin doesn't go the way they show it in the comics, you can find that on Webtoons.
All right.
Nice.
Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy Podcast.
I used to have a show called Screaming Boy Podcast. We now have a stream called Misfits and Miscreants. If you're watching on my show right now, Misfits and Miscreants on my channel, why don't you go over to W2M Network and give them a follow, because that's where we're actually live on. That's where this show happens all the time. That's where you see Mark's lovely, glorious head all the time. But Misfits and Miscreants, what is it about, you say? It is, we have a live Dungeons & Dragons stream every other Saturday, which is this Saturday coming up, where we're playing Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's a long-standing campaign that we are having a blast doing. It took a little bit of time off during Christmas. Now we're back. We'll be coming back Saturday. There are more things in the works. I've solidified now. We're going to be streaming some Magic the Gathering content and some other board games, things like that throughout the week. If I can get a day off from podcasting. No, I'm not complaining. I'm just teasing. I'm teasing, by the way. I enjoy doing this, and you know that. But no, we got some other content coming up. A lot of tabletop stuff. And in the meantime, if you're not seeing tabletop stuff, or I'm not doing this, you get to watch my big old head play some video games while I'm streaming. So I've been playing Halo and Call of Duty and stuff like that. A lot of fun. Just give us a follow. If you like the tabletop community, give us a follow, and we'll keep you in touch with everything. With that, this March, I'll be going up to Gary Con in Wisconsin, which is like the mecca for the D&D and wargaming. Celebration of Gary Gygax's life, the co-creator of Dungeons & Dragons. I'll be streaming from up there as well.
If you've enjoyed Ronnie, and who doesn't enjoy Ronnie charcuterie, He'll be on a TV party for The Witcher season 2 with like 900 other people. He will be talking to Robert Winfrey and I about Scream 5. That's yet another one where I had to shut the door behind me and let nobody else in, not know how. And so everyone else was kicked into a round table for that. But you will hear Ronnie Adams talk one of his favorite franchises, Scream 5.
Gosh, it's my favorite franchise.
Ronnie Adams, Al Sedano, and I will be talking Hawkeye. And then Ronnie and I will be back for a triple feature January 24th. We'll be doing Licorice Pizza, Power of the Dog, which I've heard is phenomenal, and Top Shop.
I'm glad I feel bad because I remember I don't ever plug my stuff I do on here. I'm glad you did that.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not too certain about Licorice Pizza, but I did it for you. I'm doing it for you.
All right. I have the guys that I did the podcast tonight, movies that don't suck and some that do. They were like, yeah, we're not touching Licorice Pizza with a 10-foot camel prod, and I'm like, oh, great. But it's like an Oscar nominee or a potential Oscar nominee. So I guess we'll figure out what all the hubbub's about. And then finally, to close out January, myself and Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast will be doing Wheel of Time season 1. Evan Bevins, who doesn't love Evan Bevins? Charcuterie or no charcuterie? What the fuck? He'll be on our Logan's Run comic strip that we're doing for the Superblog team up for George Perez, and eventually we'll have more stuff. For whatever reason, I must not have entered your name in some of the stuff on the calendar. I know
Jesse and I have a source material on Daredevil.
Yes,
coming up
this Sunday. No Fear, Chip Zdarsky. Here we go.
Good book.
Yes.
Okay. This time it works. So yeah, Evan Bevins will be with Jesse Starcher. They'll be reviewing Daredevil Volume 1, Chip Zdarsky, No Fear. This Sunday, he'll be on the Logan's Run comic strip. In theory, he will be joining us on a football-related triple feature for National Champions, American Underdog, and We Are Marshall. And then him and the returning Andrew Graham, he'll be coming back from his own child exodus. We'll be reviewing the entirety of Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe Revelations on February 20th. So, plus we're doing some more comic strips and whatever else I can get Evan to commit to. As many comic strips as I can. That's the plan. In the meantime, this has been a very busy week. Yesterday, we reviewed Bandmade Unseen World. It's doing really big numbers for us on YouTube, and only half of the people that have listened to it think I suck. We reviewed Day 1.
Hey, let me check that one out.
We reviewed Day 1 on Tuesday, and then Don't Look Up and Being the Ricardos in the evening. Myself and Sean reviewed Titan, El Camino, and Christine, the Strawberry Girl, Christine. Jesse Starcher took all the losers I left off of Spider-Man No Way Home. That's another one. I shut the door behind me and said, nobody can get in. Nobody not know how. So all those people revolted and formed their own round table. So check that out. It was actually very well done. That's Evan Bevins, David Wright, Benjamin J. Cologne, and the aforementioned Jesse Starcher. And speaking of Evan Bevins, him and I and Jesse reviewed Mark Russell's Ronnie Adams' favorite comic author, Mark Russell. He did Billionaire Island. You want to just do like Rob does and say, why do I lie to the people?
I can't.
So
you say his name and I lose a little bit of will to live.
So one of Ronnie Adams' favorite books is The Flintstones by Mark Russell. Well,
I'm
also
going to
did
kill you, Mark.
Billionaire Island, which we reviewed, and then the aforementioned Jason Teasley and I reviewed You Season 3. You tonight. Myself and David Wright will be reviewing Lost in Space Season 3, a most excellent show. If you've never watched Lost in Space on Netflix, you really should. It's outstanding. I know it's not fucking Marvel or Star Wars, but if you could all get over that for just 5 minutes, Lost in Space is awesome.
Oh Definitely my gosh. Pull the bird out of your crack.
No. Bunch of man children.
Comic book wise, Star Wars is Marvel, so.
And then
it Saturday is all Disney. So
the fastest rising star in the Radulich Broadcasting Network, my son Jonas, and I will be doing a comic strip for Monster on a Hill and Rumble, currently airing exclusively on Paramount Plus. All right, that's it. I promise hit the right theme this time, maybe. For Evan Bevins and Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy Mark Russell podcast, I'm Mark Radulich saying,
I'm gonna flip you off so bad.
Be well, be safe, and behave.